Hello everyone. I welcome you all in the discussion of reading number 4 of Valuation and Risk Models, External and Internal Credit Rating. In this session, we will mainly talk about the external credit rating, and we also have the learning objective which relates to the internal credit rating, that is when the internal credit rating is useful. So I will give you the explanation of each and everything, what is rating system, what is credit rating, when it is used, when external is used, when internal is used. But the major portion of this chapter is a theoretical chapter, so my recommendation is to you is make sure you read it once because I will be focusing on the key points. So key points here for our discussion are the defaults, probability of defaults, unconditional probability of defaults, cumulative probability of defaults, and then the variation, that is a conditional probability of default. So we have the three types of probability of default and the complete chapter based on the credit rating. So I will explain you that. Then we have the transition matrix for the rating systems, the credit ratings. We will discuss that. I will give the idea what is it and how to see it, how to analyze it. Then we have the hazard rate calculation. We will talk about that. And for the remaining portion, I will give you the quick overview, just the overview, and we will discuss some key points. Okay. Testing will be done based on this region only. Okay. I'm making sure everything, every key point or every important point is already covered here. So for your own purpose, you should read it once. So first of all, what is a rating system? So CRA, credit rating agencies are the agencies who assigns the credit rating. Now the question is, what is credit rating? Just take the example of students, like now we have the grading system in class, right? So schools. So previously it was a percentile system, right? So once you pass the exam, your result used to show like 100%, 95%, 80%, right? Now it is changed to a grading system. Now grading system works like, say this is A plus. I don't know exactly how the grades are given, A plus or like that, but you can take, it is based on the country or to country or school to school or region to region. You can take your region in your account, right? Then maybe like say from 94 to 80 it is A, 80% it is A, then A minus or B or whatever. So these are the ratings. So say 79% to 70% it is B, and then we have 60% say C. So these are the gradings. So grading system in school tells us about how the student performed, right? So if I know the student is in A plus, meaning he is among the good studious students. That is, I don't consider the grades as a mark of intelligence. So my general thing is, like if you see the grading system, it shows that how he performed, how the student performed in that year, right? So for A plus, we can consider, so if we have 10 A plus students, meaning we can consider that these students performed really good in the school's test, right? So exams. In our curriculum, FRM curriculum, we also have the grading system. It is in the quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3 and quartile 4, which is excellent, good, average and poor. So this is for the subject, individual subject, right? Here you, like first top 25% scorers in the individual subject are awarded a Q1, then next 25% scorers are awarded Q2 and so on. So bottom 25% are awarded Q4, like this. So these are also rating systems. Okay, grading systems and rating systems. When we talk about the schools or our exam, we have this type of rating. But for the credit rating, of various securities issued by the issuer. Various securities like the bonds, there can be structured products. So various types of securities where the credit risk is involved. In those cases, the credit rating is provided. Remember one thing, credit rating is only provided when there is a credit risk involved. Now, I remember like a few years back, like previously, like 2 years before, one student asked me like how equities credit rating works. So I will give you a moment. Just think on it. How the equities credit rating works. Okay. So you don't need to think about the mechanism of it. Just think about how the equities credit rating will work. Okay. So first of all, if you own the equity, if you own 1,000 shares in a particular company or of particular company, then will you apply credit rating system to that company or to that security issue? The answer is no. Why? Because when you buy equity, when you purchase equity, in equity's case, there is no credit risk. Why? Because you are the owner of the company. You are owner worth 100 shares of that company. So the credit rating is not applicable for you because you don't have the credit risk. So you practically, you are the owner. So owners don't have the credit risk towards their own company, right? So that's why credit rating is not applicable for the equity. Majorly the credit rating system, the credit rating is applicable for the bonds, okay, and similar type of securities where assured returns are provided, okay. So if I'm the issuer, and if I give the issue, if I issue one particular security which gives you certain type of return, say 10% return fixed, okay, because it provides a 10% return and you have to deposit money, right? So you will provide me loan because I'm the issuer of the security. In reward, you will get securities, and based on that, you will get 10% return, right? So now you have credit risk. So to analyze this credit risk, one way, the first option for you is to take individual company and do your complete analysis on its credit risk. Remember, when you invest in the equity, you do the valuation of that equity. You do valuation of that firm, right? So you have different areas to value. You have different parameters to value. But when we talk about these bonds, we don't have that same valuation system, right? So it is difficult for us to do the credit rating valuation, the credit valuation of a company or the issue specifically. For this purpose, there are the agencies who provides rating to these bonds. So say bond A, bond B, bond C. So say this bond is AAA rated, then next bond is say B rated, then C rated. Okay. So say these are the three credit ratings provided for these three bonds. Now, if I ask you in which bond you should invest, if you got the answer, then you need to think like a risk manager, okay. So you should not answer like this. It depends upon the purpose, okay. Remember, see, in this case, in case of the bond A, bond B, bond C, if bond A is AAA rated, then it is highly likely, or in majority cases this is going to happen, this bond will give you less returns, like say 7%, okay. Then say bond B will give you 10% return, and then bond C will give you maybe 15 to 20% return, because it is junk bond, it is about to collapse, okay. Now see here, you can focus on, this is your return and this is your risk. So this is risk to return, okay. So for taking more risk, you are awarded more return. This is your return and this is your risk. So AAA rated means a high credit worth, okay. So it is highly likely that you will get your money back as well as 7% back, okay. You will be able to produce the returns as well as your money will be refunded in that manner. So company will not default on this particular bond. So this is AAA rated, okay, highly investment grade bond. These are called the investment grade. Once you reach certain point when the ratings are below a certain level, we will discuss what is that particular level, and it is there's a difference between the different agencies in this level, okay. So levels are the same, but how it is denoted is different. So after certain level, there is a speculative grade. It's junk bond, speculative grade, junk bond. So these junk bonds or the speculative grade bonds are the risky. Okay, there is high risk involved in it. It might default, and to take that risk, you will be awarded high returns. That's it. So this is very simple. And to take these decisions, you don't have to engage your brain into how to rate this. So rating agencies will do the work for you. Now the question: who will pay rating agencies? Will you pay the rating agencies? No. The issuer who is issuing this bond, issuer who is issuing this bond will pay these agencies, okay. So you have to make sure, you have to remember this, like issuer is responsible for paying to agencies for rating these bonds. So whoever is the issuer, they will pay. So now there is a one particular conflict in FRM in book one. There is a financial disaster chapter and then financial crisis of 2007 and 2008. So we have the chapter on those topics. In that topic, you will understand, specifically in the financial crisis topic, 2000 2008, you will understand like how this particular part, that is, these issuers are paying agencies for rating their bond. This created a particular type of risk. Okay, it was majorly responsible for that credit crisis, but still this practice is going on. There are some conflicts, there are some issues, there are whistleblowers who are saying that this is not correct. Okay, there should be alternate mechanism, but obviously agencies need earnings, right? They need a compensation for rating or their work, so this compensation is provided by the issue. One more thing, when we are talking about the external credit rating, okay, so when the rating agencies do this work, this rating is not provided for the issuer. This rating is provided for the issue. Okay, that is a bond. Rating is for issue, not issuer. You need to understand this or remember this, right? So let's start our discussion. Like, let's read again what is given here. So I hope you understood about the basics of the rating system. Rating system works like the grading system for the bonds or the securities, which promises you a fixed payoff, and those securities should not be equity. Equities, in equities case, there is no credit rating applicable because there is no credit risk involved in it, right? So wherever there is a credit risk, it is possible that credit rating will be provided. Now here, see, the rating can be given to another firm or some securities issued by firm, but generally it is issued. Okay, it is to the issued. Okay, not the issuer. The examples of the rating agencies in India. In India, we have CRISIL, Indian Rating and Research Private Limited, and all. I am dropping all those things. This is subsidiary of Fitch. Fitch is among the top rating agencies in the world. USA, and then ICRA. Okay, so these are the three credit rating agencies. There are other credit rating agencies as well, but I'm not mentioning it here. It is just for the example. And majority of you, or some of you, majority is the wrong word. So some of you who will clear the FRM Part 2 exam after becoming certified FRM, maybe you will work with these agencies. Okay, there are a lot of hiring for the FRMs in the credit rating agencies because at the end it is risk analysis, right? Then there are three primary rating agencies in the US, and our discussion revolves around these agencies' policies or the denominations, how they denote the credit rating, like that, right? So these are known as the big three. First is the Moody's, second is the S&P, Standard and Poor's, and then Fitch. These controls 95% of the market in the US, the credit rating market. So if you select a random bond, 95% chances are this particular bond is rated by either of these agencies. Fine. Now see, the Moody's and S&P controls over 80% market, and then Fitch controls over 15%. Okay, so combined control of Moody's and S&P is 80%, and then Fitch controls the 15% market in the US. Just for the information. Then we have the rating agencies. Next point is the rating agency serves as an external source of the credit risk by providing independent opinion on the credit risk. Agency's primary focus is on the firms with publicly traded instruments. Okay, so remember this. So primary focus is on the publicly traded instrument instead of just the private issues. And this is applicable for the external rating. Again, remember, we are talking about the external rating. For internal rating, things will change. And external rating is provided to issue and not issuer generally. The word here should be generally. Okay. So this is about the first part, the basics of the rating agents rating system. Then we have the scales. In case you are not able to see the scale, I will just zoom in. So see here, this is the rating scale for Moody's, and just focus on the scale here so you will understand how the rating is done. So triple A, that is capital A, small a, like this. You have to just know it because in next part we have for the other rating systems, rating agency systems, there is a different type of denomination, right? Then AA1, AA2, AA3, A1, A2, A3, like this. These are kind of a subcategories. Okay. So triple A, then just below that AA1, then just below that AA2, and so on. Then we have the B. This is a different grading. Different grading as in the next grading is the B. B category. In B category we have BAA1, BAA2, BAA3. Then we have BA1, BA2, BA3, B1, B2, B3, CA1, CA2, CA3, CA and C, like this. You don't need to mug up. Okay, you don't need to remember all these things. Just know that how the rating system is done, how the ratings are provided. So you should be able to understand or bifurcate that if I tell you like there is one particular firm which is rated AA1 and the next firm is rated, next issue or next security is rated, I by mistake said the firm, okay, just replace it with the security. So first security is rated AA1 and the next security is rated A1. So which security is credit worthy? So the security which is rated AA1, like this. Okay, so if you remember this much, then it is enough. So more A's will put securities rating higher, and 1 to 3 is easily understandable, right? So see here, if I give you BAA1 and then BA1, so more A's will put that security in a higher credit worthiness, okay, better credit rating, like this. Here we have a speculative grade, okay, so understand this. This particular section is the investment grade. So these are the kind of credit worthy securities where you have some type of certainty that your returns and your deposit money, that is the money you use for the purchasing of these securities, will be returned, right? So you will be able to, you don't have any credit risk or low credit risk. You can specifically read all these things like the high quality low credit risk, okay. Then we have low credit risk, then upper medium grade, and you don't need to remember all these things. If for your own purpose you can remember, but for the exam purpose it is not important. Then speculative element starts from here, okay. So medium grade and then speculative element. Now here we have speculative grade. This particular part, speculative grade means these securities will produce high credit ratings, high returns, and will produce high credit risk. So high credit risk, for this you will get compensated with the high credit risk. So knowing this much is enough. If you want, you can read this part. Okay. Then we have two types of rating: long-term ratings and short-term ratings. So both the ratings will work in a different manner. So it is highly likely that categorization will change for different type of security. Maybe a particular security, say bond A, will be rated differently for the long term and differently for the short term. So these are different ratings. Remember this. So short term rating is different from the long term, and it is not compulsory to provide both the ratings. It can be anything. Moody's provide both the ratings, short term ratings and long term ratings. And then the speculative grade starts from the same category. And you have to also make sure that what type of rating you are reading, and based on that interpretation will change. Okay, so for that specific rating, interpretation changes like this. So you have, see this section, okay. You can read it, okay. I will not invest my time here because one, it is not testable area, it is just for the understanding purpose. Now next is the rating scale of S&P. In S&P's case, rating scale is different. You can see here, it is all capitals, right? And then instead of 1 2 3 4, it uses plus, no sign, minus. See here, triple A, AA plus, AA minus, then A plus, A minus, then BBB plus, triple B minus. double B plus double B, B, triple C, double C, C, D, like this. Okay, so you can again read it. And here speculative grade starts from here, that is from BB plus, and B from BB plus speculative grade starts. So which one is more credit worthy, which one is better credit rating? So triple B plus, then BBB or triple B, whatever you like, and then triple B minus, right? In similar fashion, you have cutoff on BA1 in case of the Moody's. So Moody's and S&P's, there is a difference. I have to remember this if possible. Then capacity to repay, repayment capacity, repayment as in, as we discussed, the money you deposited, the refund of the money, like this. Okay, so extremely strong, very strong, strong, adequate, adequate as in whatever is required. Okay, so adequate. And after this we have faces future uncertainties, maybe currently it is fine but future uncertainties are there. Then major future uncertainties, then currently vulnerable, then currently highly vulnerable, and then has filed for the bankruptcy petition and in default, like this. Okay, then rating system. So bond ratings are long-term ratings, whereas money market instruments are the short-term ratings. You remember in Moody's case we learned about two types of ratings. So bond ratings are the long-term, and then money market instrument, which is a short-term instruments issues, which gets the short-term rating. And remember, both the types of rating analysis should be done differently, because you can tell what are the scenarios or what type of risk this particular company is going to face in a particular year, in a specific 1 year period. So things suddenly change when it is a long term. So you have to think about the long term uncertainties, right? So rating is done differently here and differently here. So different parameters are used. You will understand more about it when you see the rating migration matrix. Here you can see this is the first part which we need to discuss in a detail, which is the cumulative default probability. Pretty easy, very easy. It just looks kind of intimidating, but it is very easy. Now, first is the cumulative percentage default probability calculated by S&P's from its rating. This is the GARP's books snap. Okay, so I am using the direct snap here. Before we begin the cumulative default probability, first we need to for the unconditional probability, unconditional percentage default probability. What is this unconditional percentage default probability? So if I take this particular firm, this particular rating of block, now see here, these are the years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 15, and then we have the ratings. Okay, so triple A, double A, triple B, double B, B, triple C, C, investment grade, speculative grade. So this investment grade, speculative grade is in the cumulation. Okay, and then all rated for the in totality. Now see how to interpret this. If I take security which is triple A rated and third year, so the probability of default in a third year for triple A rated securities is 0.10%, like this. Okay, all these values are already in percentage terms, remember this. If I take triple C, then this firm will default in a first year itself is 26.78%. This is the probability of default probability. Remember, unconditional default probability. I will explain this with the help of flowchart. Then there are certain observations we have to make. See here. This is important observation. If you see in this particular case, the triple C's case, you will see high probability of default for first few years, but it keeps on falling every coming year, and near to 15th year it is way near to zero. Okay, Now, why this happens? This is a very important point. Why this happens? This particular security or the firm issuer is facing certain uncertainties or risks, right? So there is a chance of default. Because there are chances of default, there is a 26.78% probability of default. Okay. But if this firm manages to survive for say first year, maybe that firm developed some strategies, worked on some capital structure, or got some help from outside, and is able to stabilize its operations and control its default, right? So because of this, next year you will see lesser default probability. And if you keep moving like this, after fifth year, it is like, say you're saying this particular agency is saying like this is triple C rated firm and triple C rated security, and issuer is facing some default scenarios, and if it is able to survive for the 5 years in this particular default scenarios, then we can easily say that if it is survived for the 5 years, meaning it is now safe, because it might have restructured everything, it might have taken the measures so that it is does not default, and automatically we consider the company is recovered. That's why you are seeing there is a lesser default probability. So this is based on the history. Okay, this is based on what happened before. Then we have next observation. You can see similar observation for the B. See here, it keeps on falling. There are some important observations for the AAA. So AAA are highly unlikely to default in first year. Then chances increases in the mid years. But again, if it survives, again, the probability of default falls like this. Then for A, you can see this starts with the low default probability and then keeps on increasing, and it increases to a certain level, right? So it tells us that if company is a firm is credit worthy today, it does not guarantee what is going to happen after 15 years. There are chances, the chances of the firm defaulting increases. Okay, this is not, remember, this data compilation, this particular probability table is not calculated using the one particular firm. It is based on the data set. So out of 100% companies which are currently A-rated, or the securities which are currently A-rated, 0.17% issues will default like this. This is how you interpret it. But remember, this is about the default in that specific year. Okay, all these probabilities are unconditional. So if I have to take the example from here, so this will go like, we'll take example of this triple B rated and default in first year, okay, which is 0.18. Probability of default, probability of survival. Probability of default is 0. Forgot 0.18. Fine. And then probability of survival will become, is in the percentage, 99.82%. Now remember, if company defaults, you don't need to do the further analysis. Existence is over. So you don't need to think about the company will default in the second year or not, right? So this is for the first year. This is year 1 and this is year 2. So if company survives, then we have to think about the probability of default given company survives, and then probability of company survives given company survives, right? So from where to get this probability for the year 2 for the triple B rated firm? So can we take this 0.33 Simple answer, no. Why? Because this is unconditional probability and you need conditional probability. Here we are looking for the conditional probability. So you have to check the conditional probability, and conditional probability is provided in the conditional probability table. So this is the conditional probability table. Triple B rated. 0.33. Here also you will see 0.33. Remember this. If you are not seeing any difference, this does not mean there is no difference. What is going on here? Because these values are so minuscule, okay, so the probability of default is very small, that is 0.33% out of 100%, right? So because of this particular problem, you will see a less impact on the probability of default, which is a conditional default. Okay, so this 0.33 is the probability of default in the second year given no default previously. So probability of default given no default previously, and then probability of survival is just 100 minus, which is 99.67. Fine. Now next question, how to calculate the conditional probability? Oh, sorry, we got the conditional probability. Now next question, how to calculate the unconditional probability? Unconditional probability of default. So first you will need a joint probability here. Joint probability. So joint probability we can calculate it using a very simple method, which is 0.99, sorry, 99.82% multiplied by 0.33. Answer is 0.329 is equal to 0.33. Fine. And in this case, this is going to be as survival and survival. It is going to be the, of course, you can take the 1 minus, and you can also go with the multiplication. Not 1 minus, sorry. So 99.82 multiplied by 99.67% is 99.49 or 50. Fine. Now, if I ask you to calculate the default probability, unconditional probability of default, so in ideal scenario, if you recall your probability chapter, we know how we take this calculation. How do we do this calculation? We would have simply taken the default given default, probability of default given default, and then probability of this is survival given default. So we would have simply added this particular part and then this particular part, which is this after approximation. So we would have added A and B. But because the scenario is like this, once the company defaults, there is no question of further default or survival. This is eliminated. This becomes our unconditional probability, meaning the joint probability becomes the unconditional probability. Now, given this, you can rework it. You can do the reverse calculation. Reverse calculation like, so this is how the conditional probability table is calculated. So probability of default given survival is equal to unconditional probability divided by unconditional probability of this divided by probability of survival till this point, P of till this point, right? This is very easy. Okay. Now, if you take these unconditional probabilities, I hope you understood how we got the unconditional probability. So for say like next year, automatically you will keep on building on it, right? So one after another and so on. Okay. So you will take first year, then you will go to second year. Based on this, you will go to third year. Based on this, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, like this till 15th year. So I just showed you calculation for the first year and second year. You can again go for the third year, fourth year, so on. So on. Generally, this is calculated using the hazard rate. Now, cumulative default probability. Cumulative default probability is nothing but the sum total of unconditional default probability. Okay. So if you want to go for the say third year, so third year cumulative probability for say triple A rated, so it is 0 plus 0.3 plus 0.10, total 0.13%. See, 0.13%. So this particular 15th year conditional cumulative default probability is the total of all these probabilities from the unconditional table, from this table. Okay, so you just total it and you will get this result, 0.94%. Remember this. Fine. So this is the cumulative probability calculation. Then this is unconditional probability default calculation. If you are provided with this unconditional probability and cumulative probability, then you can definitely calculate the conditional probability as well by using the formula. So if you are asked to calculate say for ninth year, so what is the conditional probability of default in a ninth year? So simply you will need probability of survival till this point, till 8th year. So how you get till 8th year survival probability? Simple calculation is this. Just come in the cumulative probability table, probability of default. Every time I'm not saying the probability of default, so simply come in the cumulative default probability table, find out till 8th year survival probability. So how you get the survival probability? You will get the default probability from this table. 100 minus default is the survival probability, and simply this probability, that is default, unconditional default divided by survival till this date. Okay, this is very easy, and you can do this all these calculations. So you can simply calculate the survival using 100% minus, take the survival probability from the table, cumulative table, and then take the unconditional table, and you have to focus on the for which year you want to calculate the question. If you get a question, now I don't think like you will get a question on this, but if you get a question, you have to focus on this particular part for specifically which year it is asking. So if it is asking for the 8th year, meaning survive for 7 years and default in 8th year. So take unconditional probability of default in 8th year and then survival till 7th year, and then you will get the conditional probability of default in 8th year, or in our case it is triple V rated bond. So this is very simple calculation. The meaning of the conditional probability of default in 7th, 8th year, sorry, it will be, the meaning will be the company survives for the 7 years and then defaults in the 8th year. What is the probability of it? Okay. Then there is concept of hazard rate. So hazard rate is rate of default, not probability of default, rate of default. At what rate companies default? Okay. So it can be 2% or 1%, whatever is based on the calculation. If you are provided with the hazard rate, just remember this hazard rate is the hazard rate is the rate of default. Fine. So once you get the hazard rate, if you do e to the power minus ht for the hazard rate, you will get the probability of survival. Okay, probability of survival till that point. Remember, till that point. This is from t0 to t1. So if you take 10 years times, it starts from t0 and it ends at t10. And if I ask you that there is a constant probability, constant hazard rate is constant at 2%. And if I ask you to find out the probability of survival till 10th year, okay, till 10th year. So you can simply go with the e to the power minus ht. But we are doing the analysis of default and not the survival. So probability of default, this is again unconditional and cumulative. Unconditional and cumulative. So if you are doing for the 10th year, so this will include till 10th year. So probability of default till 10th year, that company will default within 10 years. This is the right statement. Company will default within 10 years. So answer is 1 minus probability of survival, right? So what is the probability of survival? E to the power minus ht. T is 10 years here. H is say 1%. Take 1%, that is 0.01, and T is 10. And simply you can calculate the default probability. Just do this in your calculator. So 0.01 multiplied by 10, then second exponential, and then I made a mistake. Okay, so 0.10 multiplied by 10 plus minus second exponential minus 1, which is okay, which is 9.516%. So this is your cumulative probability. Now what if you want to find out the probability of company's default between T9 and T10 and the hazard rate is constant? So obviously we will find a cumulative probability till 9th year. So 1 minus e to the power minus 0.01 multiplied by 9. Let's find out 0.01 multiplied by 9 plus minus second exponential minus 1 multiplied by 100 plus minus, which is 8.606. Okay, 606%. So you have probability of default till 10th year, probability of default till 9th year, meaning the company will default within 9 years. You have one probability which is 8.6066%, right? And then you have company will default within 10 years, which is 9.516%. So meaning this difference between the 9.5 and 8.6 is the probability of default. Company will default in 10th year, right? 10th year default. I hope you got the idea. So simply take the difference. So here 9.516 minus 8.606, whatever is the answer, you will get the probability of default in 10th year. 9.516 minus 8.606, answer is 0.91% probability, 91% probability of default in 10th year. Now this is unconditional probability, remember. Okay, now the next question, I will just add a question for you. What is the conditional probability? Conditional probability of company default in 10th year given survive for 9 years. So how you will do this calculation? This is your homework. Okay, just do the calculation and it is easy, right? I have to simply apply the same formula which we discussed and make sure you solve this. I have like gut feeling you will get question on the hazard rate problem. So you should know the hazard rate calculations. Okay, so it is, I will just reiterate the formula. Cumulative probability, that is probability of survival till that particular point, and in numerator this will go in the denominator, survival will go into in denominator, and in numerator you will have the probability of default in the 10th year. Then we have the recovery rate and the expected loss calculation. we have recovery rate and the expected loss calculation. Now, what is the expected loss? In case of the default, if the company defaults, what is your expected loss? If you are the bondholder, you invested say 1 lakh in a particular bond, and if company defaults, you are going to face the losses, right? So after this investment, say there is 2% chance that this company will default, and if company defaults, you will be able to recover only 60%. Okay, 60% of the money, meaning out of this 60,000 will be recovered, but 40,000 will be lost if company defaults. Then how this calculation goes? 60,000 recovered, 40,000 lost. So 2% is probability of default, and loss given default is 40,000, right? So what is the answer? Is your expected loss. So 2%, sorry, 40,000 multiplied by 2% is equal to 800. 800 is your expected loss. So there are two formulas. This is a one formula only written in two different formats. The first format is the probability of default. Now you should not be questioning about what is the probability of, why we are multiplying probability of default with the loss given default. The loss given default is the loss you will incur in case of default, and probability of default is the probability of this loss given default will happen. So 2% multiplied by your 40% is the loss, right? Which is simple calculation, easy. This will become your expected loss in percentage format. You have to remember this. If I'm writing down the percentage and percentage, then it will be in the percentage format. If I tell you that this is a 40,000, then this is simply the dollar format, right? But now we will take the 40%, which is 0.40, right? Is equal to, I can write down the same formula in a different format, which is 2%, which is probability of default, this multiplied by 1 minus recovery rate. I told you, like, you will be able to recover 60%. Recovery rate is 0.60, 60%. So 1 minus 0.60 is 0.40. Both the formulas are same, nothing different here. The recovery rate and the expected loss calculation, we have the credit risk chapter where we will discuss each and everything in very detail. So I will close this part now because we have everything in detail in the coming chapter. Okay, for now you have to remember this much. Now rating transition matrix table is from the GARP's book. So what is a rating transition matrix? So this is from, this is to, from, to. Last part I have to explain, not rated. Let's start from the to, sorry, from. So AAA, AA, A, triple B, double B, B, triple C, and C. So these are the ratings available. Simple. So from this particular rating, within 1 year, company's rating will either upgrade or downgrade. That is, if the company is AA, this particular security is AA, from AA to going to AAA, that is upgrade, or from AA to going to A, that is downgrade. So probability of rating upgrade or rating downgrade is provided in the rating transition matrix. So just think about the normal uh, scenario. Okay, logically, try to think logically. So company will be able to maintain its rating. So company is, I'm again and again saying company, you can take the security, better take the security. Security is, and even if I'm taking company, there is nothing wrong, but because we are focusing on the security, I should say security. And this is SIG for the security. If currently it is AAA rate, sorry, AA rated, the firm will be able to maintain its rating. I will go with the firm. Firm will be able to maintain its rating AA to AA is 86.82%. Fine. Now there is a chance of within 1 year the rating will be upgraded. The probability of this upgrade is only 0.52%, and probability of downgrade is 8%. So based on this, you can do your risk analysis. This is used for the risk analysis. And of course, a particular like security is currently say double A rated, what is the probability of the security will within 1 year will go to default? Of course, it is very minuscule. So 0.02% is very minuscule, very minute, right? Now, if the company is triple C, which is already a junk, which is already going to default, it will be able to maintain its probability, its rating is 43% 0.97 probability. This is the probability of maintaining its rating. And what is the probability of company this particular firm will default? It is 26.78%, right? So it is easy to understand. It is about to default. Triple C is about to default. Highly risky. And if it defaults, fine. 26% is good number for it, right? But this triple C within 1 year will be able to jump to double A or triple A is near to impossible because it is 0%. Then 0.13%, 0.19%, 0.63% of upgrades, and then it will be able to upgrade itself to 12.91% is the probability. That is, will be able to upgrade to P. Okay. So this is your rating matrix. You will always see any security will be able to maintain its rating firm. Okay. So see, it is constant. Constant as in it is high. That is high probability of firm will be able to maintain its rating. Right. This is specifically for the issuer. Will be able to maintain its rating. So triple A to triple A, triple C to triple C. So maintaining has always the higher probability. And then downgrade, upgrade has the lower probabilities. So we can draw the inference like this is very high probability that a triple A firm will get downgraded to 9.03, like to double A is 9.03%. So probability is very high that the firm will get downgraded, the rating will get downgraded for the particular, right? And then there is concept of non-rated firms, non-rated securities or firms. So what is a non-rated? Non-rated is not rated by the agency. So not rated by the agencies meaning maybe firm does not want to pay for the rating, right? So if the firm is issuing a security and it is not willing to pay for that security's rating, so automatically this will get categorized into non-rated. Generally, if the security is very risky, then that security, that issuer might not look for the rating. So there are different scenarios in which the security can be categorized as a non-rated, different scenarios as in different reasons for not getting rated, but it does not mean that it is worse than the default. Okay, so not rated does not mean worse than the default. It means we don't know about it, like that. If you are from the audit field, it is disclaimer. Okay, like in your audit report. So then through the cycle and point in time is for the a short term, a specific for point in time, and through the cycle is for the long term. Generally for the bond, it is through the cycle. It is very simple. Through the cycle requires different type of strategies, and point in time requires different type of strategies. So both are the ratings, but based on the time, it can be categorized. So long term is the through the cycle, and short term is the point in time. And it is best estimate is for the present time. That's it. Okay. So why these two systems are required? Two systems as in point in time and the uh, through the cycle. You have different securities, right? So you cannot keep on changing your scales again and again. You cannot keep, the agencies cannot keep changing their ratings, right? So for this, they have designed the two types of scales to make sure that there is a relatively stable rating, that it provides like worthiness for that particular rating agency. That is a trustworthiness for the agency. If that particular security is able to maintain its rating, meaning the agency's rating initially given to that particular security was decent enough, was well thought, right? So rating stability is the key goal for the rating agencies, but the external factors are not stable. like the economy, business policies, competitors, things, and all these things are not stable, right? So it affects the rating agencies. So there are two types of rating systems, or rating types are given through the cycle and point in time. It is not necessary that both the ratings are provided, point in time and through the cycle. Majority of the firms agencies go for the through the cycle, and point in time can also be provided. Okay. Then potential impact of rating changes on the bond stock price. The key point you need to remember here is, what is the potential impact of rating changes? There is a news in the portal. The news is that one particular bond's rating is downgraded to from AA to A. Then there will be panic in the market. People will be selling it, and market overreacts. So when there is a downgrade, market overreacts. But when there is an upgrade, and now you get the news that a particular securities rating is upgraded from say AA to AAA, like this. There will be a mild reaction. Market does not react in the same manner, right? So this is general phenomena. Market does not react to good news in the same manner the way market reacts to the bad news. So same happens in the ratings case. Then we have the miscellaneous topics. Miscellaneous is the alternative methods of credit rating. If you are not going for the credit rating, then what are the alternate methods? So there are two firms, Kakamura and KMV, are the organizations uses models which are based on the firm's market equity value, volatility, debt in firm's capital, debt in firm's capital, that is a capital structure, to estimate the default probability. Okay, these are the alternatives. You have to remember this. KMP model is in FRM part 2. Okay, you will study this model. So right now I'm just telling you the alternate, and you have this particular part in very detail in again in FRM part 2. Then estimates are point in time, as models are more responsive to changing circumstances. The goal of stability is not a factor. So this point you need to remember, these models, highlight is not working. These models are point in time, as models are more responsive to changing circumstances. So if you adopt to changing circumstances, automatically you cannot go for the through the cycle. You cannot give long-term rating, and if you are, and at the same time you are accommodating all the sensitive elements into that, right? You cannot make the model very sensitive if you want to go for the long-term rating. And the goal of stability is not the factor here. So if you are not looking for the stability of the rating, then Kakamura or Kamakura, not Kakamura. So Kamakura or KMB is the model to go. Then the internal versus external rating. So internal rating is provided by the agencies, but for the specific purpose. When you have potential buyer, big size buyers, you can get their ratings done. Okay, so if you are the bank and you are providing loan of in 1,000 crores like that, then you can get their rating done, that their potential to repay your loan. And the internal rating is issued for the potential borrowers developed for following reasons, as in no external ratings available. Then the accounting standard requires accounting of the default probabilities. So if you have you need, if accounting standard requires a default probability, so the only way we know to get the default probability is the rating, that is well calculated default probability. Definitely you can calculate the default probability, but to get the proper default probability, better get it rated, get that company rated, and you will get the default probability based on the rating. And then probabilities of default driver regulatory capital. If regulatory capital requirement provides you that you need the probability of default, and you need to account for the probability of default for the regulatory capital, then also you need to go for the ratings. So then these will be the internal rating. Okay. Now previously Altman's Z-score were used for lending decisions. This case. Currently more advanced algorithms are used. Previously Altman's Z-score was in the FRM curriculum. Now it is not that evident. So it is a small discussion, one paragraph on that. Okay, so this is about the rating agencies. So that's all. Just remember all the key points. Just remember the probability of default. What is cumulative probability of default? What is a unconditional probability of default? Conditional probability of default. Then transition matrix, interpretation of the transition matrix, and some key points. That's it. And your testing will be done on the more of a high chance is hazard rate, and low chance is some basic theoretical question. It will be easy question. It should be easy question. Okay, so that's all about the external internal credit ratings. See you in the next chapter. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Bye bye.